Good afternoon. I want to thank all of you for being here today just to come to our press briefing. This is something we're going to do a lot more consistently. Given the health crisis that we're in, we want to make sure that the community stays engaged and stays up to date on some of the issues that we're confronting with the COVID-19 crisis and the coronavirus issue that all of us are dealing with, and it has not been certainly without any sacrifice on behalf of people here in the city and people throughout this entire region, this state, and this country coming together that we've been able to deal with this. And right now we sit at about 157 cases in the state of Alabama, with 3 recorded cases being in Montgomery County. And I want to say conservatively that we want to be very careful about the number 3. Right now, that's what we have recorded, but we have no reason to think that we just have 3 people in this entire county who have come into contact with the COVID-19 virus. And one of those reasons why we want to make sure we start off by encouraging the community to follow the health guidelines that have been laid out by the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, as well as the Alabama Department of Public Health. There have been a number of edicts that have been sent from the governor as well as from myself about what the state of Montgomery is. And right now we're still under a state of emergency because of this health crisis. Our policemen and our firemen are on the front lines as well as medical professionals in dealing with this issue. And it's something that is not lost on us, and it's something that we have to really keep in mind, that we all have a role to play. And that role really is being responsible by practicing social distancing as much as we can, social isolation as much as we can as well, and making sure that we are taking those necessary sanitary precautions to kill the germs and to stop the spread. And right now, I think that the community has done an admirable job of really adapting to a now normal and adjusting some of the behavior. And although we've really just been under this for a little bit more than a week or two, we really want to make sure that we continue this process, because although we aren't seeing some of the spikes that some other communities are seeing, I've been told by our federal leaders that we probably will be seeing spikes in cases over the next couple of weeks. And we want to be prepared for that, and we want to respect our medical professionals who are putting their lives on the line as well, by not endangering them by going into the ER or going to the hospital, and really just by following the guidelines and the directives that have been already sent down. And so it's very important that we continue to take our full responsibility for this. And part of that is why we're going to be forming a couple of committees. And I asked Montgomery County Commission Chairman Elton Dean to be here today, and he planned to be here, and something just came up that's prevented him. But I also asked City Council President Charlie Jenwright to be here, because we're going to be forming 2 committees, one regarding community impact and the other regarding economic impact on the city of Montgomery and Montgomery County in this region. And we think it's important for our combined government to come together to really take a look at what's happening right now in the community and what our businesses are dealing with, what challenges they may be dealing with, but more importantly, what our community members are dealing with and what they're going to need to really weather this storm. This is something that we believe we're going to have to deal with for the next few months. And it takes us to start planning now to make sure that we're on the same page as government entities to get our priorities together, both at the state level and at the federal level. And while the United States Senate right now is kind of hashing over some issues in a stimulus bill, we want to make sure that stimulus doesn't just go to Wall Street, but that it comes to Main Street. And more importantly, that it gets in the hands of the people who need it most, and that everyday people who are facing some challenges aren't forgotten about, aren't an afterthought in this. And so we're going to start our part here by being proactive on our side, by pulling together leadership that has been through some trying economic times and also through some other disasters that we faced. And Chairman Dean, who's been on the County Commission for 20 years now, as well as City Council President Charlie Jenwright, so they can offer a little wisdom in terms of what our steps should be to really try to get out in front of this so we can help our businesses and help our community really stand this challenge and really stand up against it. And so with that, I'm going to ask City Council President Charlie Jenwright if he would please come and give a few brief remarks on the committee for economic recovery, as well as the other committee will be setting up that for economic impact and that of the community impact. Thank you. Charlie?
I think the mayor's made it quite clear we're in uncharted territory. We got to know what's going on. But earlier today, I had a council member call me and said, what we're going to do? Financially, it's going to be a situation, be tough for us. But in the neighborhoods, it's tough. So a lot of things are going on in our city that we need to really take hold of. And as this thing goes longer, it hurts worse. So I think these committees that the mayor has come together with will make us have an opportunity to really make solve the problems, fix them as they come up, and then as the stimulus money comes down from Washington, we'll have an opportunity to know exactly where it needs to go. So I think that the plan is here to get ahead of the game and stay ahead of the game, because we are in uncharted territory. We've never been here before. We don't know. So being ahead of the game, we're a lot of help for the city.
Charlie, I want to thank you for your leadership and really keeping the city council and the mayor's office really aligned, as well as working out in the community with the business community and letting them know what we're dealing with as well. And that's very important, because right now I'm just going to give you a few figures to keep in mind. Our hotel occupancy rate normally in 2019 was about 70%. And we've seen that plummet to less than 30% right now. And that has a tremendous impact on our bottom line as a city and as a county. The city, as the current numbers stand right now, could lose as much as $2 million every quarter as long as this goes on because of the cancellations. We've already lost upwards of $1.5 million due to event cancellations, according to our analysis with the Montgomery Chamber. And the county could lose as much as $500,000 quarterly coming from the county tax that are imposed on those hotel rooms. And so when we start thinking about the economic impact, we see it in the form of our government, and we're going to see it certainly with what our businesses are dealing with, both in terms of their payroll as well as their ability to maintain employment for many people who are working for them and working in our community. And so when we think about extrapolating that lodging tax and potentially what we could lose right now, we're looking at upwards of $12 million. That is very significant for us in terms of the revenue that we generate, and that's not including sales tax. So that's not including the alcohol tax. So there are a number of impacts that we're looking at from this standpoint that are really going to change the way we continue going forward, and we have to be prepared. And that's why we decided to pull together the county and the city and leadership to really make sure that we get ahead as it relates to our committees and as it relates to the people that live here and that depend on us to really make sound decisions every day. I want to move on and just highlight a couple of other partnerships that we've entered into that we think will help the community during this COVID-19 crisis. We have started a text alert system along with the Montgomery County Commission and the town of Pike Road. We're going to have a text alert system that will provide the latest information on COVID-19 response directly to anyone who signs up for it. Anyone living or working in Montgomery County, the city of Montgomery, or the town of Pike Road can text MGM SAFE to 888-777 to register today. That's MGM SAFE, and that's 888-777 to register today. Only important alerts will be shared. We do not plan to spam anyone or send a lot of information that's not needed. We want to make sure that everyone has access to the information that is needed, so that as things change, and they are changing by the hour, that you can get the most up-to-date alerts directly from our Emergency Operations Center, which has been set up, and that's partnered with our state EMA. And that's very important that people stay connected so that we understand what our role is in this situation. The system will also provide service in Spanish, and we have also partnered with OLA to make sure that all of our communication is bilingual, and that's something that is very important. I also want to recognize that we have spoken with our National Guard. In the face of this unprecedented public health emergency, we requested Governor Ivey to activate appropriate elements of the Alabama National Guard to help serve the citizens of the River Region by assisting our first responders where needed, whether that is through various medical supplies and logistics and efficiency, or whether that's just through the ability to help us deliver and distribute food to school children and our seniors. We made that request in the interest of being proactive to make sure that everyone who wants to be a part of the solution can be a part of the solution. And the Alabama National Guard has always been there for the people of Montgomery and the River Region and the state of Alabama. We also have looked at partnering with the Hyundai Motor Corporation, and we sent out a letter to Hyundai because of what we learned last week when they had an employee who became their first employee to suffer from the COVID-19 positive test results. And that included them having to shut down their plant in Montgomery County. It's very important that we keep that in mind because Hyundai is such a big partner to the city of Montgomery and the county and plays a big role in this community. And given the relationship and the response that the South Korean government had as it relates to flattening the curve, we also sent a letter to their Hyundai North America CEO, as well as the chairman of Hyundai Motor Manufacturing Alabama and the Hyundai Corporation, to ask for potentially providing more test kits. At the time, we were short on test kits, and we want to make sure that we're reaching out to all of our corporate partners as well to see about their availability to partner with us to provide more test kits in a more efficient manner, not just for those who live in Montgomery, but for those who live in all of Alabama. And so an official letter was sent, and so we want to do everything in our power to make sure that we are not only looking to our state and federal leaders, but we're looking to some of our corporate partners for any assistance they may be able to provide to help us flatten the curve and stop the spread of the COVID-19 virus. And so we're glad to have them as a partner. We're glad to have them here, and we've been glad to really work with them from the city as well as from our county leadership. And so we know that the letters that were sent to President Jin, Vice Chairman Jung, and Hyundai North America President Jose Munoz will be well received, and we're looking forward to partnering with them going forward, whatever the response may be in terms of being able to assist us in bringing about more test kits for people who may think that they have the coronavirus or who may be suffering from some of those symptoms. That being said, I want to get to a concluding point and just let people know that this illness does not discriminate, doesn't know your age, it doesn't know your background. It's very, very important that we get adjusted to where we are right now. I just received an alert that another state and city has gone into a shelter-in-place model. We are not in that predicament here in Montgomery at this time, but I want to emphasize that's at this time. We want to make sure, again, that we do everything we can right now to really stay at home and to try to support our local businesses by ordering takeout food, tipping very well those that are there, and making sure that we can support them in their time, as many of the restaurants and our hospitality industry have offered to help our community partners, such as donating extra food to Faith Rescue Mission and other nonprofits that are helping to feed the homeless and the needy in this community. So it's very important that we all play our role. Also, for those who have questions, we have set up a standalone website, mgmready.com. It's very important because this is something that really brings in all the information from official sources to kind of sort out some of the innuendo and rumors that may be out there regarding different reports. This brings in the most up-to-date statistics from the Alabama Department of Public Health, the Centers for Disease Control, the county and the city, EMA, as well as the city and county governments. So it's very important that not only we stand here and understand that Montgomery is ready, but that we know that that's a standalone site that people can go to for additional information. And we're working with not only our community leaders and our faith leaders, but also our first responders and medical professionals. And so that brings us to the very last point, and that is the Montgomery Public Schools meal program. I just want to remind families that Montgomery Public Schools does have a feeding program at many locations of schools throughout this community. We also have a food distribution list on our website featuring all the entities that are offering meal services to those that are under 18 years old. I want to thank certainly all of our city employees for the work they've been doing, both those who have been working in the administrative capacities, those who are on the front lines of this, those who are teleworking and working remotely. Without them, this government would not be able to maintain this efficiency that we have right now. And everybody has adapted, I think, in a very positive sense, much like the people of this community have adapted to where we are. And we know that this is really a strain on people's everyday lives and habits. And so we're all dealing with this together. But I believe that by taking this approach that we have, we'll be able to get through this in a very positive manner, regardless how long we have to deal with it. It is ultimately a necessary inconvenience for us. This is a very difficult and challenging situation, but it's one that we are managing and leading and dealing with hour to hour as we go. And so as the information changes, we want to make sure that we bring that information to you and to the community so everyone knows what's going on and how they can proceed. With that being said, that will conclude all of my remarks and comments, and if you have any questions, I'll take those at this time. Brian? I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, I just saw Brian real quick. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, you talked about the pretty scary numbers, how this has affected not only the city, but the county, but the chamber as well. Do you anticipate having to lay off city employees?
No, we don't anticipate having to do that this time. We believe that we're in a financial position that puts us in a very good place. Obviously, the longer this drags out, we may have to reevaluate that, but right now we're in a very good place to, both financially and operationally, that we feel like we can continue as we're doing right now to provide the services that people need. Sarah?
What are the ages of the people who have been diagnosed with coronavirus, and are they hospitalized?
I don't have the ages for those, and they are hospitalized. We have not gotten the recovery numbers as of yet.
From a practical point of view, can you walk us through, if you can, what these committees will do? If you can give us the
Yeah.
agreement, what's the score from day one, what will we do and how will we do it?
Well, I think that I'll start with the Community Impact Committee. What we want to do is really hear from people in Montgomery, the town of Pike Road, and the county as well. What impact, what are they struggling with? What are they dealing with, and what is that they are going to need going forward? And what does that look like from a government standpoint to be able to provide that help? Is that in terms of remediation, funding for education services? Is that looking at alternative opportunities for them to maybe get some medical care that they have not gotten? What type of things do we need to be able to go to the state of Alabama, to the governor with, as well as our federal leaders, as priorities that are going to help people deal with the human and social impact of this? Is that mental health services? What type of things can we provide? And so what we'll be looking for from our city councilmen and from our county commissioners who own this is they're engaged with their communities and their constituencies to really get a sense of how we can prioritize things from a human standpoint and how we can really help people and what we can do both where we stand right now as well as going forward, what those tasks will be. Right now, what we have are a lot of different needs, and what we want to do is try to categorize those and put them in a priority list that we can then submit to the Department of Public Health, we can submit to mental health, we can submit to other entities that are helping out, as well as those nonprofits, to be able to let them know this is what we're going to need help with from a human side and from a community standpoint to really get people back on their feet. And it's very important, I think, for us to take the lead in that and for us to be out front to try to gather feedback from the community, because it's going to help us also stay in touch and make sure that we have things ordered in a proper sense. On the economic standpoint, what we want to do is we want to make sure that whether it's federal stimulus money, whether it's small business loans, or whether it's grants, that we are making sure that gets to the small businesses and to the people that really keep our economy going. And we certainly understand the impact of big business, but small businesses don't have the lobby. They don't have the organization to really ask for the priorities financially to help them out. And one of the issues that I've already heard has been loans versus grants. And so those are things that we want to really look at and get a sense from this community, what's going to be most needed here in Montgomery. What's needed in Montgomery may be different than Mobile or Huntsville or another city. We want to make sure that we're engaged and we can then ask Governor Ivey and the legislature for what we need right here, and we can also ask our congressional delegation for the types of things in these stimulus bills that are going to impact Montgomery. Because it's very important for us to keep in mind this will not be the last stimulus bill if it is approved that comes out, and we want to make sure that if there's opportunity for the city to participate in that as it relates to having the debt bought by the federal government, or if it's to reassure our standing financially that we are playing a role in that along with the businesses that really keep this city and keep this community going.
Has anyone tested positive for the virus that's connected directly or indirectly with the city?
No, not at this time.
How many coronavirus tests have been processed? And what is the city doing to prevent what happened in Tuscaloosa where tests were spoiled? Was there any training or, I mean, not the city, but probably hospitals for administration and storage and that kind of thing?
So the city is not involved in the storage. That's a state issue, and so we're not involved in that at all. I'm looking for our update, and I'm just going to go with the last update that we have. We had 175 that have been tested. No, 157 I think is where we were earlier. 157 in Alabama cases. Well, that's positive. 3 in Montgomery County. So tested, we have 175. 119 of those are pending, 54 of those are negative, and 18 of those are at home. And that's what I have as of my last update for the numbers of those that were tested, pending, and negative, and those that are at home.
What did you say the last number was? You said pending, negative, and then what?
Yeah, so 175 tested, pending 119, 54 negative, 18 at home. And a total confirmed positive of 3.
And that is city or state?
That is county. That's what we have from our Emergency Operations Center. Okay.
This past weekend, did you have any problems with people congregating or anything with respect to you?
The police are always going to do their job and be professionals. We had a few groups that were still meeting, and we understand that. Most were observing or trying to observe the 6-foot distancing rule. We just kind of want to remind them of the numbers and what's in place here in the city of Montgomery, and what has been also declared by the governor as well. So just a few reminders that we wanted to make everyone aware of. Any other questions? All right. Thank you all very much. Appreciate the work that you're doing.